Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about another regressive measure that seems to be coming from the Afghanistan, where the Taliban regime has decided to ban a very what you can call as popular game or a sports in the region, that is chess. So let us try to understand what is the rationale given by the Taliban regime behind the ban of chess, how it is going to impact the people in the Afghanistan in general, and also let us try to understand a brief history of chess in the Afghanistan. Now, if we try to understand about the recent this dictate that has come from the Taliban, it has stated that the Taliban's government has decided to outlaw the game of chess, and this edict has come from the Ministry for the Propagation of Virtue and the Prevention of Vice under the Taliban. So this is the name of ministry, as you can see. In the other name in the local language, they call it as Amr bil Maruf wa Nahyan al Mumkar. So basically, it is this ministry that has decided and that has now realized that chess is a game which is forbidden in the Islam. They have considered it as a kind of haram, and it is because of this precise reason they had decided to put a ban on it. Now, with one degree, what we can understand, the game of chess, if you talk about the history of this game in Afghanistan, it is being played over more than half century. Well, that means we can say over more than 50-60 years, but with one decree we have seen the chess being a dangerous pursuit overnight, and the playing of a sport in the country has now become haram. It has become forbidden as per the Islamic Sharia law the Taliban largely is implementing. Now, if you look at the ban, whether the question that comes into the mind of people there, that is the ban temporary, is the suspension on the game or the sports temporary, or is it of permanent nature? Now, many of the people from Afghanistan who have the experience of living in the Taliban regime, who also used to play chess, they believe that now the living in Afghanistan requires plenty of courage, because the sport, the temporary suspension of the sport in the country due to religious consideration is just one of the regressive measures and regressive decisions that we are seeing that has been taken by Taliban as such, and several such curb on the freedom of individuals we can expect in the future as well, as Taliban begins to grow its stronghold over the entire Afghanistan region. Now, the phrase, however, talk about the government edict, the phrase used is temporary suspension. However, many experts argue that this temporary suspension is a false drawn statement, because government has not provided any timeline that by what time the chess is suspended and when it can be lifted, what are the considerations and the remaining measures that can be taken by the chess so that the sport must again is revived in Afghanistan. So basically, we can understand that though government has used the term temporary suspension, in practical sense we can consider it to be a permanent or at least a very long term ban on the sport as such. Now, obviously, the people who have the habit and what you can call as people who are professional players of chess, they would have to face a long struggle. And if a tournament is organized in Afghanistan, for example, now as we have seen that in the last 2 years, over more than 4 to 5 major chess tournaments that has drew participants from all across the world was organized in the country. But now, after declaration of this game as forbidden, if a tournament is organized in Afghanistan, the organizers and the players can simply be arrested by the Taliban. There will be so many punishment. Now, interestingly, Taliban did not have a clear-cut law today that says that what will happen to you if you're caught playing chess after it has been outlawed or after it has been banned as such. But many people generally agree and understand that if they are living in Afghanistan and if they get arrested for violating this rule of the government, it will be kind of a jungle law. What it means is that Taliban can do whatever they want with these people. They can put them in prison for as long as they want. They can put some other penalty and charges, or whatever kind of frivolous charges also can be imposed upon them. And it is not just irrational fear, basically, because if you look at last 3 years of ruling of Taliban regime, we have seen such several presidents in the past as well. For example, many people from Afghanistan stated that they were walking on the road, Talibani police or what you can call as Talibani fighters, they came, they snatched or took away the mobile phone of the civilian. They looked into the mobile phone and found some photos of a regime that used to exist earlier before Taliban came into power. Then without any looking at any credible proof, any credible evidence, they can simply arrest and put the person in prison for a long time, because they would say that you have certain link to the previous administration, previous government. Similarly, a person's mobile phone has picture or photograph of some girls, they would try to investigate whether he is related, whether she is your wife, and if you cannot find this prove any kind of what you can say as linkage, then again on the charges you can be arrested and put into prison as such. So these are the things that we can see happening in the future as well. And for example, even if the chess is being played inside the house, inside the home, Talibani fighters can enter the home, can search the premises on the suspicion, and can arrest and put the person in jail as such. Now this has been confirmed by the spokesperson of Taliban, the spokesperson for the Sports Federation in Afghanistan. He has stated that the rationale why Taliban has decided to put a ban on chess is because in Islam it is considered as a form of gambling, and any form of gambling is haram as per the Sharia law. This is the statement that has come from the spokesperson as such. So there are religious considerations, that is why he is talking about regarding the sport of chess, and until those considerations are addressed, the sport of chess is suspended in Afghanistan as such. Now how these considerations will be addressed, about this neither the Taliban regime knows nor the people in Afghanistan knows, and that is why we are talking about the ban can be practically considered as a long-term or permanent ban, at least as long as Taliban rules the Afghanistan, which given the current situation seems there is not going to be an end to the regime. There is not going to be at least an abrupt end to their regime. Taliban is going to stay there for long. So that is what actually the situation tells us. Now the other reason why Taliban has put a ban on this can be considered as because they do not like the sports from very beginning, because they believe that playing of chess, it is such a what you can call as you have to get involved to such an extent that used to distract the masses from their prayers, and many times people were so engrossed in the game that they did not attend the prayers in the mosque or at the home. So this is also the reason why they could have put a ban on that. Plus the other reason, this we can understand, is also because of the link the chess enjoys with the Soviet Union. You know that chess, that is also called as Sahmak in the Soviet Union or now post-Soviet countries. The Soviet Union, we have discussed, that was the country that invaded Afghanistan and left Afghanistan in 1979, and most of the Taliban fighters, if you talk about in those days, actually they were a group of mujahids and they were fighting the Soviet Union. So they also considered this game to be having an imprint of their long-term enemy, and this is also one reason why they had a detest against sports of the chess as such. Now, if you try to understand the counter argument also, because many of the sane voices from the Afghanistan, whether it is Afghan chess player who have fled Afghanistan before Taliban came into power, they said that this rationale of Afghanistan or Taliban regime in more particular, that chess is haram, does not make any sense, because there are so many Islamic countries all across the world and none of these countries have banned the sport. Chess is not haram for all other Islamic countries, then how it can be for the Talibani regime as such? Now, they said that the reason why they consider Talibani regime considered chess as dangerous is not because of the gambling associated with it, or at least the element of gambling associated with it. It is because they believe that if large scale, at a large scale, if chess is being played in Afghanistan, that means it will improve the knowledge and IQ of the people. And Taliban since very beginning are against any kind of knowledge growth and development, because when people will become more aware, when they will have more knowledge, they would try to put certain degree of accountability on the Taliban administration, Taliban regime, and this is something they do not want. They do not want any kind of interference in their administration, any kind of question from the civilian population as such. Second, this example of the detest against knowledge we can understand by the simple fact that the first thing when Taliban came back into power they did was to ban the education for the girls and women. They have suspended all kind of girls' school that was running in the earlier or previous Afghan administration, and also as far as the boys' school is concerned. Now in Afghanistan earlier you have all kind of knowledge being given in the boys' school, such as knowledge related to science, knowledge related to technology, medicine, you have maths and all that. And now it seems that most of boys' school largely are basically are teaching Islamic subjects rather than the practical subject which can help them in gaining what you can call as good jobs and such. So these all basically are an example of how strong Taliban object against any kind of knowledge and awareness as such. Now if we talk about this particular the step taken by Taliban to ban the chess, now many people agree even the professional chess players, that it is obviously sad, but it is not surprising. For many of the countries chess fraternity, they had been anticipating this move. They had been anticipating this kind of step by Taliban after it usurped power in August 2021. We know that in August 2021, NATO and US led forces basically left Afghanistan, and Taliban taking advantage of this opportunity has then controlled the state power in Afghanistan as such. And since then, we have seen a sea changes in the society of Afghanistan, and we have seen a large scale this violation of the basic human rights. We have seen a large scale, what you can call as, restrictions imposed on the individual liberty and freedom, and this is more pronounced in the case of girls and women. In the earlier regime, where girls and women can go out, can study, can work in hospitals or any other kind of what you can call as these businesses and all, now they have been relegated back to their homes, and also strict dress code has been imposed again on the Talibani society as such. So these all steps can be considered as nothing but the extension of similar kind of projection that Taliban has given. Now, if we talk about the Afghanistan National Chess Federation, the players of the Afghanistan National Chess Federation, they have fled the country because they do not want to live in such a regressive regime. And this is not only about chess. If you try to understand, generally, first of all, the first thing Taliban did when they came back into power was they suspended all kind of women related sports in the game. They banned all women and girls from participating in any kind of game. And that is why if you talk about the last year in the Paris, when the Olympics were held, 3 women from Afghanistan represented the country, but these 3 women did not come from the Afghan territory. They were living outside of Afghanistan. They were living in kind of exile, we can say. Similarly, we talk about the Afghan national cricket team. They are also playing games, but they are not getting any support from Afghanistan government. They are not living in Afghanistan government. Rather, they are being supported by the Australian Cricket Board as such. So this is how we can understand that chess is another casualty in Taliban's restriction against any kind of game or sports as such. Now, we talk about the brief history of chess. We have discussed that Taliban, the history of chess is over more than half a century. It has history in Afghanistan. People have been playing it both as a pastime as well as a cultural escapade. For example, in the places where you have some kind of functions in the homes, when you have people going into the restaurants, they used to play the chess as such. But in the last few years, what we had seen, at least during the time of previous Afghan administration, that chess, rather than becoming or remaining a form of entertainment, there was a degree of professionalism being infused in it. And as far as the FID, the International Chess Federation is concerned, it has said that Afghanistan had 528 recorded players from the chess. There are no grandmasters or international masters yet, but there are 5 FIDE masters and 5 registered candidate masters each in Afghanistan. That means, in short, we can say that if chess used to continually, if it was allowed to be played in Afghanistan, maybe in few decades we would have seen emergence of grandmaster also from Afghanistan as such, and the game could have got a degree of professionalism from the Afghanistan as well. Now, in conclusion, what we can say that again, since the Taliban came back to power in 2021, it has been forced to take many steps back. Afghanistan society as a whole, we can say, has been forced to take many steps back, particularly when it comes to the rights of girls and women. And the ban on the chess, the present ban on the chess, the new we can say the dictate that has come from the Taliban regime can be considered as a further regression, with yet another simple freedom taken away from those who have already lost so many of their basic rights and liberties. This is unfortunate, yet this is true in the Taliban's Afghanistan today. So that is all about this particular video. I hope you got the idea behind the ban of the chess in the Afghanistan, why it seems a kind of threat to the Talibani regime, and the overall impact of this. So if you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your fellow aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such content. Thank you.